Hello YouTube! Here with some more Elestriad content. Today we're going to be just going over my pools and top 16 briefly, showing you the decks I used in those pools and top 16. Um, we will be going over these in more detail, even though these matches were condensed in their official release. The content creators have been given access to all the footage that was recorded for those for the pools in the top 16, so we can make our own individual videos covering those matches. So I will be doing some post commentary over all of my pools and all of my top 16 my top 16 match in the Elestriad, and releasing those to you as separate videos, so you'll get to see the full details of those matches, even though they had to be condensed for the official release. But let's get into it. All right, so here we are at the pools video. Just briefly go over it. First, they did the feature with One Us versus Shea Penguin. One Us got out of our pool with a 2-1 record. Then we have my match versus Shady Penguin that gets featured. This was the last match I played, actually. I went 3-0 in the pool, 2-0ing. I didn't drop a single game. Yeah, I didn't drop a single game. So I went up against One Us Plays first, and then Gator EX, and then no, I went up. The order I did them in was Gator EX, then One Us Plays, then Shady Penguin. Yeah. So let us go over the decks I was using for these. So first we have the deck I took against Gator EX, Elestriad pools versus water, yada yada, very obvious. This is definitely my least refined list because it was my first Elestriad list, and I didn't really have a whole bunch of opportunity to test stuff out, and I was really just going by my gut. I had come to the conclusion that Mudlet was very good, but also I did not want to be taking Eddie into this matchup because there's no way a water player isn't going to be on like 2-3 copies of Galaxy. It's the natural 5 that they have access to within their element. It's just a really good card. So Eddie is going to match up very poorly into that. This is what really got me down the Mudlet really good train, because like immediately I was like, okay, Eddie doesn't work on Galaxy, but Mudlet does. Mudlet can clear Galaxy and still fills like most of the role. So we can just run that, and that's what we did. I decided I also wanted to be on some sort of lunar package because I want Spectaris for Foamy and Galaxy. Because of that, I wanted one of the Ascension packages in here as well. But I didn't want to run Nobby because Nobby's and Doppelgator's attack reductions don't work against Galaxy and Mustation because of how the stat swapping works. So because of that, I opted for the Rare Pup one. And because I want some healing, because I want the lunar stuff, I didn't have space to go for a big Thunder package. So it's like, okay, the best way to get access to some healing is to put in some calf mells, and calf mells can heal the lunar stuff that I'm running for the lunar package. So that works out pretty well altogether. We were on the full 3 Argo because there wasn't anything in water that I was like really worried about countering Argo. So it's like, okay, Argo good card, we're just gonna go full in on this, and that was the plan. Game 2, we attempted something where we swapped out the calf mells for Vertiliths, going like, okay, he might bring in Spectaris now, or might just use Spectaris. I believe I saw Spectaris in game 1, maybe. We'll see when we go over the match in detail in a later video. But I went for Vertilith, and Vertilith was so awkward. Man, this card is just not great. I want to believe in this card so bad, but like it's so awkward to use its normal cast. Like, oh, this card, like, going in on Vertilith almost cost me the second game. I'm going to be quite honest with you. Vertilith almost cost me the game. And, like, if Gator was a more experienced player who could have been, like, expending to draw to prevent the spirit differential from happening, then it would have been much less likely for this to work out for me. Then we come to our deck that we used against One Us Plays for the fire matchup in our pools. So I did not want to be on Argo in this matchup because and the same is going to apply for my wind matchup against Shady. Um, Argo has too many weaknesses into fire because of eruption, because of Kineo, and because of Lavalith. Wind is somewhat similar because of their access to P-Gust. Non-chainable counter runes become a lot worse against Wind for that reason. And also, Hydrake matches up well into Argo. So we'll talk about that more when we get over to that deck. We were once again going with the 3 Mudlet because Mudlet good. But also there weren't any 3 defense guys in Fire that I was particularly worried about. That Mudlet would be worse than Eddie for. But we're not against Galaxy Turbo anymore, so we felt safe bringing in the Eddie. I want some sort of lunar package here, so I went with Nobby. I want Cryoblast and PTAs in here because I really want to be able to clear that Kinleo as soon as it comes down. I don't want that thing sticking. If Kinleo sticks, it can just end the game instantly. We had now my way to big brain thing. Oh yeah, the other thing with Argo is that I knew that One Us Plays had Pandora's Box somewhere in their main or side from watching their previous matches, so I did not want to bring out. I did not want to be playing Pandora's Box. I did not want to be playing Argo because that's a lot of space that you have to commit to Argo. And that card loses really hard to Pandora's Box. So I did not want to be doing that. My way to break brain strat was like, okay, I'm gonna put Verlith in because I knew that One Us Plays from watching their previous one of their other matches really liked Spoiled Fruit. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna go Verlith and I'm gonna go bait them with the Verlith to bring in the Spoiled Fruit. We will then trade out the Verlith for the Magnetic Force Field because I know they really like Eruption. I know they've been using Eruption a lot. So I will bait them into bringing in the Spoiled Fruits, which will now be useless because it's not going to be able to clear a body. And we can Magnetic Force Field. We have Magnetic Force Field in the main now, so that we can counter their eruptions. That interaction didn't end up coming up. We did I do believe we blanked Spoiled Fruit, but we found out that Spoiled Fruit was actually in the main. Is the main thing. Spoiled Fruit was in fact in the main. So that part of this stratagem did not quite work out. The Magnetic Force Field thing, it did get activated, but at the end of game 2, I learned that One Us Plays actually had all 3 copies of Eruption rotting in their hand. So it was like, okay, I'm really glad I had this Magnetic Force Field set face down this whole time, so that if they had ever felt that they could go for an Eruption, I would have been able to blow them out for it. So yeah, that was the deck versus Fire. And lastly, we have our deck versus Wind, which we brought against Shady Penguin, of course. So with this, I had a few considerations. Shady had already played his match versus One Us Plays, in which he had played a pretty standard Wind Nexus Burn type strategy. I knew there was multiple Nemesis and then multiple Exalters in there. And that's the kind of thing I expected Shady to be bringing because, like, burn. You know the drill. So I wanted to be prepared for that, but I also didn't want to disrespect Hydrake. Because Hydrake is still pretty scary. So we went with the 3 Mudlet to Eddie again. There's not any stat lines in Wind that I'm worried about Mudlet not being able to deal with, so we felt completely safe going for the 3 Mudlet here. Nobby felt pretty effective, feels like it's pretty effective into Wind because their stats are all low enough that even in defense, most of them aren't going to be able to resist the Nobby. So that one lines up pretty well. And then because everything in Wind has some pretty low stat lines, especially on the defensive side, we went with 3 Cryoblasters so that we could kill stuff. But also, the other reason for that is that if Shady pivoted to Hydrake for our match, I would be prepped for it because I have the 3 Cryoblasts in main, I have the 3 PTAs, Tsunamis and Shields and Gorgons to also stop it. Like, I have 12 counter runes in here. Crazy amount of counter runes in here because of the space that we're allotted because of the lack of because of not running the Argo stuff. We're still on 17 guys here. Yeah, we're still on 17 guys here. Then the sideboard, we have more stuff that's prepped for to pivot based on what he's running. If he's running Hydrake stuff, we have the 3 Specteris and the 2 Dense Fog to counter that. And if he's on like Wind Nexus stuff, we have Magnetic Force Field to potentially bring in to stop the burn stuff, to blow it back at him. Or we have Fulloy Forest to counter any Wind Stadium stuff he's trying to do to make up for his lackluster stat lines. So I felt pretty prepared for anything I would expect Shady to be bringing into this matchup. He ended up bringing a Hydrake deck, having done pretty poorly with the Wind Burn stuff against one of his plays, deciding to pivot over to Hydrake. And we were like pretty prepared for that. We brought in the Dense Fogs, and I believe the Specteris is 2 in game 2, and we were able to use the Dense Fog to stop a Twin Drill play from going through. Game 1 was very scary as well, because he used Hurricane twice, and was almost able to force through a Penter play, but he was 1 short Spirits after the second Hurricane. So I feel like Shady could have potentially won that one, or put himself in a position where he could have potentially won if he had not used the first Hurricane, because he didn't go for any big play when he did the first Hurricane. And if he hadn't done that first Hurricane, he would have had enough Spirits when he went for the Hydrake play to Hurricane, go for Hydrake, and have enough Spirits to get into Pantera. But it is what it is. We'll go over that in more detail when we do the full video on that match. And now we get into our top 16. So this was against Cars and Coffee, because all 4 Earth players made it to top 16. It was pretty inevitable that we were going to have to fight off against each other. How it broke down was like pools were matched in. So like it was like Pool A versus Pool. What's the bottom pool? A, B, C. Pool H, is it? Yeah, Pool A versus H. It would be it was A versus H, B versus G, C versus E, and D versus E, with the first seed of like Pool A fighting against the second seed of Pool H, and such it broke down. So I was the first pool. I was the first seed of Pool B, and Justin was the second seed of Pool G. So we were gonna fight each other. Even if the seeds broke down differently, all that would change is I would have to fight Trish in top 16. And that's even scarier, to be honest. I'd rather go into the mirror match, if I'm quite honest. So yeah, this was very unfortunate, because it's like, okay, Justin has won 2 premieres. Very, very scary player to be going up against. I decided to just send it with like a basic Lego deck. It was like I feel like I have a pretty good idea of what kind of deck Justin is going to bring. It's probably going to be one of the things we've discussed in the team chat. I immediately recognized the Earth Solar deck he was running, which did make me a bit scared, because I had no extra healing in my deck, and he had the Calf Bells. However, I had the Specteris in main. I don't think it ever came up, though. But yeah, it was very, very scary to be going like, okay, Justin just has more heal than me. But we'll see this when we go over it in full. But how it ended up breaking down is that I just saw 3 Ambrosias in games 1 and 3. Game 2, I lost because he established a big Equilinx, and I couldn't deal with it. I was like, oh, okay, the game's over, because Equilinx Turbo. Games 1 and 3 were extremely long. Like, I'm going to have to edit down this match quite a lot, because the match was an hour and 51 minutes. My recording is an hour and 51 minutes long. It went very long with a lot of gummy board states with Ass Rabbits that we were having difficulty clearing, despite us having access to both Mullet and Eddie. It was just very, very mucky. Just very, very mucky. Yeah. Yeah, here's the list I took. As I mentioned, I was basically just playing Lego. I was using the two Mudlet, 3 Eddie. I want the 2 Spectaris in here. 2 Argo. We have the PTAs in here as well. Like that more than the Altars. I had the Werepup Lycovoid stuff in here. However, in the sideboard, I had a Nobby Doppelganger package, which I did sideboard into. Despite the fact that I knew I was going up against solar stuff, I was like, I actually don't feel like I'm too threatened by the stat lines on that solar stuff. So and in game 1, my Werepup play got ruined by a Gorgons. And it was like, okay, this happens after I trigger Full Moon. And it just means that any extra copies of Werepup are just completely dead in my deck. So like, I think I'd rather just be on the Nobby stuff, because if Nobby gets stopped, but the other Nobbies can still do the thing. So we went for that instead. And it worked out for us. To be fair, I think we got very lucky with winning this. I think it largely came down to the fact, like game 1, we were in a spot where we had no way of clearing his Ass Rabbit. And the only way we had to clear an Ass Rabbit left in our entire deck at that point, because we'd been through every Ambrosia, so we couldn't turn on like our Mudlets anymore. We'd gone through all our Eddies. We did have spares for Eddie, but we'd gone through all of those. The only way left was to draw into the Lycovoid and hard ascend into it, and that's what we got. We drew into the Lycovoid, and we were able to go over. Very, very lucky. Very, like, within only a couple of turns we got that. And then game 3, we once again saw 3 Ambrosia over the course of the game. We got stuck in the gummy board state again. I don't quite remember how exactly we got out of that gummy board state. But we got out of it somehow, and 3 Ambrosias were involved in that process. We got very, very lucky. Like, I think most of the time, the Earth Solar build that Justin was on should actually beat this Earth Lunar build that we were on, largely due to the fact that it has the more heal than we have. But we got pretty lucky, so we were able to take it. That's what it is. It was an Earth Flare going on either way. But yeah, that's going to be it for today. As I said, we, the content creators, have been given access to the footage of the other side for our matches. So I'm going to be putting up videos in the near future, doing full post commentary of my pools matches and my top 16 with Justin. So look forward to that. And this is going to be Hunter Surge signing off.